Hi, I'm your host, Marsha Florence for Just Dance. Today's show, ladies and gentlemen, is Getting Ready for Aging. Hurry back and join us. Hi, I'm your host, Marsha Florence for Just Dance. Today's show, ladies and gentlemen, is Getting Ready for Aging, and we have one of our returning guests. I just enjoy this man every time he comes. Certified elder care lawyer, Jim Schuster. Good morning, Jim.
Well, it's good to be back with you, Marsha. It's always a pleasure to be here.
No, it's really my pleasure, Jim. Thank you so much. Thank you. Now, Jim, you know what? Every time you come, we learn something new about the legal system and things that go on in our lives. So today's subject is getting ready for aging. Now, when we say that, a lot of people are like, what do you mean getting ready for aging? We're already there, some of us. So wanted to find out a little bit about, tell us what you've been doing lately, and then let's go into this topic.
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, I've been having a little, let's say, experience with getting ready for aging myself. And let me, not me personally, but my wife. She's walking the dog, just walking along, didn't see the little sidewalk uplift, was looking around and tripped. Oh, wow. She broke her ankle, and it wasn't diagnosed properly, and now she can walk only about a half the distance she used to. Just one little life-changing event. And we lost a dear neighbor. She was a very active gardener, a very active lady, 83 years old. We'd look across the fence and see her beautiful garden and all the flowers and the birds. Well, then she had a hip surgery, and she didn't recover quite well, so then she had more surgery. Within 2 years, her daughter had to move in to help her out, and just earlier this year, we heard that she passed away. So she went so fast, a life-changing event just like that. It happens to all of us. It's not going to come on calendar schedule. It's not going to come on a birthday. It'll just bang happen. And if you're not ready for it, you're going to go through a lot of trouble.
And you're right. I mean, I can testify that myself. I mean, right after I had the car accident and the surgical procedure and everything, I seem to have changed a lot physically, and I think people can see when they see me like, oh, she still looks the same, she looks nice. No, there are some aftermath complications, spasms and things, pains out of nowhere, stiffness, and a lot of times because we don't see that on the surface, our family and friends around us just think, you're back, and you're not.
That's true.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to hear about your wife's fall. I mean, like you said, she's going for a simple walk with the dog, and a curb accident. Because I've had one of those accidents before where I think I was running and I stopped or something and turned my ankle sideways and fractured my ankle. And they said a fracture is just as bad as a break.
Yeah, well,
it is.
And it depends on how they heal, of course. So the only point is that it happens to us.
Yes.
And if we don't get ready for it, it won't go smoothly.
You got that right. So let's talk about today's subject more or less like when we're saying getting ready for aging. Is there something legally we should be preparing for, financially something we should prepare for, or medically something we should prepare for?
Short answer, yes. And let me be cute with the question, if you will. Let's say that we have a daughter who's visiting her, she lives out of town, she visits her parents, and she says, oh, Mom and Dad aren't doing it quite as well as they were last time I saw them. She knows that, they're on a downward trend. Maybe it's the dementia kicking up with Mom or Dad, who knows, but something's going on, and she should talk to the parents about, let's get ready. So when you need help, well, let's say we have a parent who's firmly independent. And so then things just hold like that, and daughter can't convince dad, let's say, to do anything. What happens? When dad and mom, let's say, cannot take care of their affairs, there's only one option. when they just are so far gone they can't do anything, the only option is the probate court, guardian, and conservator. And if you want to know what that's about, it's a passel. It's a caboodle.
Okay.
I'm trying to build this up because what it involves, a lot of times I hear families say, well, the doctor said, here, I'll just write a letter and go get guardianship for your dad. Well, what does that involve? Here we go. It's a probate court proceeding. It's a petition has to be filed with the probate court in the court form. There is a public hearing. If you hire an attorney, it is going to cost plenty. But there's a public hearing. Well, before there's a public hearing, the probate court does an investigation. They'll send out a lawyer called a guardian ad litem to see, is anything fancy, funny going on here. The lawyer will file a report. He charges for it, of course. This report is part of the public record. So there you are in public court with all embarrassing details being spelled out. Then the judge says, yes, dad needs a guardian or conservator. Then the guardian takes care of the personal decisions, conservator conserves the money. Conservator's got to file an inventory of all your property, public record. The conservator has to file an annual accounting. Oh, what'd you spend the money on? What income came in? You're living in a glass house. Everything about your life is now public and expensive. Oh, yeah. And the court does everything. If you want to move, well, you got to get permission from probate court to sell the house and move. So,
but how many families know this or are prepared? I mean, first of all, we may be talking about zillions of people, but there's the low income, the middle class, and the upper class. And some of this looks like it may apply more to the upper class, even though it's something all of us should be familiar with.
Well, I would say, let's just say it would apply if we have a poor lady who's living in an apartment, a low income apartment, who just has a Social Security, maybe a tidy little bank account, maybe we're not talking to her. But if we're talking to an average, let's say, family who has worked, put aside a little savings, has a house, this is just your average working folks now we're talking about. And if they got to pay thousands of dollars over a course of a year or more for lawyers and courts, that's money wasted. Oh, yeah. Most of the time people need it for other items at home. Yeah. Especially if you're older, you need to hire help. Somebody cut the grass, do this, do that, help me. You need every penny you can hold on to.
And a lot of families won't go through that process because they know that they have a fixed income or there's limited funds. But I tell you what we're going to do, Jim. We're going to take a break and come back up and tell you what you need to do on that method, okay? We'll be right back.
What gets you moving?
Because when you get moving an hour a day,
you fuel your body
and your mind. Get up and play an hour a day, Doc.
Check out how to be a player at letsmove.gov. That's www.letsmove.gov.
Everybody needs a helping hand. Take a look at your fellow man. Tell me what can I do today?
Courtesy. Pass it on from the Foundation for a Better Life.
And welcome back to the show. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just now tuning in, I'm with one of my favorite people, Attorney Jim Schuster, Elder Care Law. Now, when Mr. Schuster comes, we always are enlightened to learn more and more about the proper care of what Medicaid does, Medicare, guardianship, power of attorney, elder abuse, all those things that, for day to day you hear about, but you never think about it happening in your home. Well, when Jim Schuster comes, he always gives us food for thought. So in case you are a person that's experiencing elder abuse, there is a local number for it, well, there's an 800 number for it. And don't be afraid to call and turn someone in, especially if it's a family member being abused. You see a person with a bruise, don't always assume that they fell down. Everybody doesn't fall, okay? And according to where the bruise is on that person's body. And most elders will not tell you that someone is abusing them because their abusers are also taking care of them. So I just want you to know today's information is resourceful for you. If you have any questions for Jim Schuster or ourselves, give us a call at 1-800-323-5336, 1-800-323-5336. Also, you'll catch some of the same information on the podcast live, Just Ask Podcast Live with Marsha Florence, and you'll hear some of these same tips from Jim Schuster and many more of our guests. Now, Jim, I had to get that out because we got a podcast now. So when people miss the show and they're like, I really wanted to hear about that, you can go to the website, people, and they can watch the show on the web, catch it on all our cable stations, or tune in to the podcast live. You got to come join me on the podcast live.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll hold you to it. Okay, now, Jim, I know that a lot of people are concerned that there's guardianship, but then there's power of attorney.
Yeah.
Enlighten us on the power of attorney side.
Well, one fundamental difference is guardianship means the court has taken over your life, okay? Power of attorney means you give somebody authority to help you out. And so let's look at what are the essentials that somebody needs to avoid probate court, guardian, conservator. You need a healthcare power of attorney. And the healthcare power of attorney has to authorize somebody you trust. You wouldn't give it to a rascal. Somebody you trust to help you out, make medical appointments, check on lab tests. I think last time we were here we said that one of the two most common medical failures ending up in malpractice was just failure to check up on a lab test. So checking up lab tests, picking up prescriptions, questioning prescriptions, all those wonderful things that if you're really having problems with something, you'd like, a son or daughter to help you out with it. So that's the healthcare power of attorney. Of course, it kind of comes with that famed HIPAA release everybody's heard about, so the doctor can give you confidential information. Also comes with that living will, advance directive everybody knows about. So the healthcare power of attorney, wonderful, don't leave home without it. The other one, you can leave it at home, but make sure you have one. The other one is the general durable power of attorney, and that gives you, your trusted person or persons authority to take care of any business for you. You want to find out about your insurance coverage. Is that covered? They can make the call for you. My mom is so hard of hearing, she couldn't talk to anybody on the phone. So my sister took care of everything for her. Just mom had the brains. He was hard of hearing. Sister made the phone call and got all the information she needed.
But when you do things like that, do a person have to carry this piece of paper with the information that I'm the guardian, that I'm the administrator, or whatever, at all times with them?
No. You're right, Marcia. There is always some piece of paper saying this person has authority. Whether they are a guardian under the probate court, they have letters of authority from the probate court saying they are the guardian. If they have power of attorney, they have somewhere the document called durable or healthcare power of attorney somewhere that they can show if needed. Now, you're right, when an elder does a power of attorney, they should let all their doctors know, all the financial people they deal with. I have a power of attorney. You can see a copy if you want, naming my son, my daughter, whomever, as my agent. Now, the one point I want to double emphasize is the person who gives power of attorney, let's say the elder or the parent, they are in control. No, the agent doesn't take over. They are in control. They don't like what they're doing, you're fired. You're out of here.
Okay.
Now, I know, however, many people are afraid that power of attorney is used to abuse. And it does happen. Yes, abusers do want power of attorney. Abusers do use powers of attorney. Like you said, it does happen.
But there's no laws, like if it's obvious that that person has taken control of the person's, belongings or estate. And I mean, like one of my neighbors told me just recently that his father had passed and he was of age 90-something years old and changed his will 30 days before he passed. And the lady who was caring for him received everything.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, it's got to be a law or something that would help a person have it investigated or, go to court to make sure that this is legal. Because if the person is 90-something years of age, it doesn't mean they're not of sound mind. But in 30 days before a person passed, you've got my house, the car, all the money in the bank, my offshore and all that kind of stuff. How does that happen? Some stuff I might not remember, but this person who's caring for me does.
Well, Marcia, what you're pointing out, and that can be a big subject all by itself, as you know, whether it's children or caregivers or whatever, a newfound friend, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. Yeah, it does happen. It can happen. What does the law do? A will or any legal document must be proven that the person knew what they were doing. And you're right, in the rearview mirror, if it happened in the past and here's the paper now, but still, did they have a medical condition? Were they susceptible to being influenced? Well, if you don't give me that will, then I can't take care of you anymore. I got to go somewhere else. Like you said, they're at the needs of that person. Every will, every trust, every, let's say, deed can be challenged in court on the grounds that the person was either didn't have the ability to understand what they're doing, or two, were pressured in some unfair way to sign that.
And I think the reason a lot of people don't contest to such a situation is because they don't have the means to do so.
Well, you're right. It typically requires a lawyer in a court proceeding. So if they can't afford the lawyer, then you're right. There's almost no remedy. The thief gets away unless it's truly. Now, once again, there is elder abuse, and there are laws against it. And elder abuse can affect amounts even $1,000, $500. So, getting the police to investigate, having the proof, maybe that's another thing. But elder abuse can reach to very small actions. Okay, that you don't have to go to court. The police can investigate.
Yeah, you can, but it seems like with the elder abuse is on the rise. People are acting as though they're caregivers for a person, being compassionate, but yet setting up their scheme to finish cleaning them out.
Yeah.
Especially if the children are not involved. If a person has, say 2 children, and children live in a different state, and they came in, they met the person who's caring for their parent, thank you so much. They're not realizing that this person is setting up, to get ready to clean them out.
That's, in a way of speaking, that's kind of the Hollywood example. I'm thinking of those old noir films where people always had these hidden motives. But let's look at elder abuse. It can happen by a brother or a sister even.
Oh, yeah.
So let's just, I'm trying to give, a lot of tips all at once. We're really just trying to, just hear, give me something quick I need to know. Elder abuse, what does it look like commonly? Elder abuse. 1, if the person is unkempt. But 2, even more than that, if they're isolated. So let's say that my brother's taking care of mom. Oh, I'd like to come over and see Mom. Say, oh, you can't come today. She's not feeling well. Oh, well, we'd like to come over Sunday. Well, no, you can't come over Sunday. We got things going on here with the grandchildren. Well, I'd like to see her during the week. Well, she's got a lot of, if they're isolated, you never get to see this person. That's a sign of an elder abuser at work. Once again, if they're unkempt. 2, weight loss is a serious example of, as we already know, for a young person, it's good to lose weight. For an older person, that's a sign of bad health. And then tied to that, if they start having medical issues, a lot of medical issues, because as we know who've experienced, dehydration, poor nutrition affect the way medications work, and as a result, a person get toxic effect from their medications if their body can't process them. So now they're starting to get all these sicknesses, and UTIs come in and they start becoming demented because of all this toxicity in their system. All of that can be the simple result of an elder abuser just putting mom in her bedroom, keeping her there while they spend over money and party and do whatever they want.
You know what, Jim, you're going to break my heart. Because it's true. But I tell you what, we're going to take a break. You know it's true, ladies and gentlemen. Some of you have experienced it, so, we feel your pain. But I tell you what, we'll be right back.
Traditional light bulbs actually generate 9 times more heat than light. Switch to energy-saving bulbs. Saving energy saves you money.
And welcome back to the last half of the show. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the end always has great information, okay? So towards the end, if you have a question for Mr. Schuster or any of our guests, give us a call, 1-800-323-5336. You can Twitter Just Ask Talk Show. No, Twitter hashtag Just Ask Talk Show. Go to the web. You're going to see the past shows and the current shows of Jim Schuster and many more. Now, we did have a call come in to ask a question. So, Jim, I'm going to try to get you to answer this question for us. And the gentleman says, how does a family member have a voice for the services of the care for their loved one? So if their loved one's in the hospital, can the family members call, say something? What can they do?
And the short answer, Marcia, is that if, let's say, loved one's in the hospital, family member is concerned, they call the hospital, and the answer they'll get, the patient is in room 402. That's all you're going to get. Name, rank, serial number, nothing more. How to really help out. It is a critically important question that the person raised. The only answer is what we've been talking about before. Power of attorney, a healthcare power of attorney. That's preferred. If you can't get it, then you're going to have to go to probate court, become guardian. if you have power of attorney, this is the key that opens the door to the ability to help mom or dad with anything and everything. That is what you need, as simple as that.
Okay. Now, what if you have 4 or 5 children? I mean, does one should be selected or?
Well, you know, the answer I give is you know your children.
Okay.
And, you know, if they have hurt feelings, then we might name all 4, starting with, you know, whomever we really want to serve. And I've seen a lot of cases where the son is, let's say, the mechanic, the guy who can build anything, and the daughter is the one who just seems to be a natural nurse. Maybe she's really an RN. But if you have you know, you kind of feel who's good for medical matters, who's good for business matters, okay? And, you know, you just make that kind of choice. And no, the oldest, it doesn't have to be the oldest.
Okay. A lot of people do that, though. Well, this oldest child, you know, let him and her take care
Well,
of it.
you do have to respect those feelings, but then you have to have a conversation. Well, Bobby, well, Robert, you're the oldest, but, you know, your sister, she's close to me, she helps me. I'd like her to be my medical, and you're number 2, but it doesn't mean, you know, it's just that she's more here all the time.
Right.
More practical.
Right. But just because the ones at home caring for the elderly parent doesn't mean they should be the guardian or have the power of attorney.
Well, no, it doesn't necessarily mean that, because you make your own choice. And by the way, you don't have to choose just one, because as I always say, if a real emergency happens, you need all hands on deck.
Right.
You need one person at the hospital or emergency room. You need another at home calling the insurance company, and maybe even need a third one to get that ramp or get the, the handles put on the walls that I'm going to need.
All hands on deck.
You got it.
Now there has been, and you can enlighten me on this, a situation where a patient's in the hospital and their medication has been altered because the hospital changes it, but the doctor had the patient, the MD had them already set.
Yeah.
And now they go to the hospital. Now their medicine has changed, increased, decreased. Can a family member who's got power of attorney contact the outside doctor, the MD, and have them
Marcia,
talk?
you hit on the very key to good care in our current healthcare system. Too many times, well, not too many times, the way things are nowadays, when you go to the hospital, you get a hospital team, and your physician who may have worked with you for the past 30 years is not in the hospital, is not part of that team. The hospital doctors determine what kind of treatment you're going to get. And by the way, they make the choice of what treatment they will offer. If they give you a choice, they will make the decision, what are we going to offer you? And it doesn't mean they will offer you what another physician would offer, okay? So coming back to that, if you have your physician that you'd really like to have input on, yes, the power of attorney, your son, your daughter, whomever could call Dr. Smith, and Dr. Smith would say, they're doing what? No, that's absolutely wrong. Or Dr. Smith, mom's having this happen, this happen. Well, that shouldn't be happening. You know, Dr. Smith gets on the phone, the hospital doctor, and remember, when I call the doctor, they don't pick up the phone. When
Right.
doctor calls doctor,
Right.
they listen.
Right, and that makes sense. So a lot of people don't know that they can ask their family doctor to call into the hospital, speak to the primary care doctor in the hospital to make sure that everybody's on the same page.
Absolutely. And, you know, as I sometimes say, and we could talk a whole show about Medicare, but Medicare is a lot of what I call secret benefits. They're not really secret, but nobody knows about them. For example, somebody goes to the hospital, has hip surgery, and they're really just beat up and run down. And so they're supposed to go to the rehab center, work out 5 days a week. Well, did you know that Medicare allows them to go home for up to 30 days to recuperate, then start the therapy?
Yes.
It almost never
yes.
happens. And also, let's say dad goes to that therapy, then he comes back home and, you know, he just, maybe has a catch of a flu, cough, pneumonia, not pneumonia, but something, you know, and he just regresses at home. Within 30 days, he can go back to the rehab center and get built up again without another doctor's order, without going back to the hospital, because that's what Medicare allows. Yet never happens because nobody knows. So what the patient advocate, your power of attorney, can do, he or she can do up a lot of reading. There's a lot of information on the Medicare website, and they can get your rights. They can get whatever you need, durable medical equipment. They can talk to the doctor. They can make happen while you are run down and beat up by all that bad surgery.
Right. But you know what? A lot of times when they change the plan, so you're open enrollment, and then there's a situation with the plan. How does one know? I mean, some people don't want to change their plan.
Yeah, and I would say for the most people, don't change your plan. Don't bother. Here's the 2 times when you'd want to. 1, if during the year you picked up some medical condition where you're really starting to go to the doctor's office more often, and now you're getting these, per visits, and you're running into these deductibles, okay? Or you get an expensive prescription. At open enrollment, you can actually go and say, okay, let's compare a plan. Maybe I'll pay a little bit more per month, but now I'm not going to have that copay. I'm not going to have, my deductible is going to be much smaller. And this prescription I'm taking, instead of me paying $60 or $100,
Oh, yeah.
it's going to be in formulary, and maybe I'll only be paying $10 each time. So whenever your health changes during the year and you start paying a lot more, look at open enrollment. You'll probably save hundreds of dollars a year just by doing that.
Right, that's good to know. I just want everyone to know that, when open enrollment comes, some people can't read the policy, the information, but you can go to your nearest neighborhood services and get them to scan over it with you to get a better understanding. This book comes in the mail and tells you need to apply for open enrollment. You need to change your insurance, and you get intimidated and you toss it to the side. And maybe some of it is, for you to do better, like you might get vision care, you might get hearing care or something there, and you just ignore it. But we need to know that you got a chance to go somewhere such as neighborhood services or seek a legal team to help you sift through the paperwork.
Sure.
Okay.
And let me just mention, if I might, the Area Agency on Aging, 1A, 1B, 1C, they have what they call the Medicare Medicaid Assistance Program, MMAP. They will actually help people free, and they're very knowledgeable with all these Medicare choices, just like that.
We're going to have them on the show. Okay. Okay. Well, Jim, I got to inform everybody, you always have your annual. Should I say annual, or is this book always available? Because, ladies and gentlemen, you got to get this book. This book is going to help you cut through a lot of red tape when you're trying to prepare for aging. Pretty much.
Long-term care.
Long-term care. So definitely, is this book still free?
It is still free. Matter of fact, we have a surplus of them, and we'd be happy to give them away.
Okay. Okay. Well, those of you who watch the show, let us know if you'd like to have a copy of Jim Schuster's book. And you see the title of it, Patient Advocate Guide 2018. This book is very useful, okay? So I'm not going to kid you. I have one. I have 2. So you might want to get one of these books. Give us a call or drop us an email somehow, and we'll get the information over to Jim Schuster, and I guarantee you have a book in the mail, all right? So I really enjoyed the book, and I do have a copy for my family members to go through. And I'm going to need another one. Is that okay? Okay, all right. So really, I like to have this book because people don't know they can flip through here and find some useful information about when they're going through the probate, when they're trying to go through, planning for the funerals and stuff. People don't like to read that much anymore, Jim, and this book can help them out a great deal.
Yeah, and they can just pop in and pop out, read what they need. It's not like a novel where you got to start at the beginning.
Right, but it's a good novel if he was, okay? Will you come back again?
Absolutely, be glad to.
Don't stay away too long now.
I won't.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I always enjoy Jim Schuster when he comes and tells us some good information for you. So if you have any questions, once again, 1-800-323-5336, Twitter, #JustAskTalkShow, and definitely go to Just Ask Live podcast every Wednesday. Check it out on Facebook, okay? And YouTube, hey, we're everywhere now. We're growing, and you can watch us anytime. I'm your host, Marsha Florence for Just Ask, and what do I always say? If you know a person with a disability or if you just have a general question, don't be afraid to ask. Just ask. I'm your host. Thank you.